Hello everyone. Welcome to the the first ever Tondel Titnu podcast. So first of all, I would like to clarify what Tondel Titnu actually means. I know the name seems a bit weird, but Tondel Titnu actually means not untitled, but backwards. So basically, in this podcast, we try to talk about a lot of miscellaneous things, some random things, and just give a general idea of what or like how we can expand our thoughts into these topics and of course hoping that it will actually help you guys in any way possible. So for today, for our first ever episode, we decided to do something that a lot of people actually have been asking, like especially from my end, my friends have been asking a lot about how do you improve in your English. And, I'm not going to give you a straightforward answer, just to be clear. I'm going to give you my experience, but more importantly, we're going to actually get someone who has a lot of expertise in these topics, experience, and that person is, of course, joined by me today is Rishwan Pravin.
Hi, am I audible? Yeah, I guess I am. Okay, so what
Okay,
are we going to
so
talk about today?
Okay, so basically, Rishwan is international debate judge. He's actually a debater in school districts and even until the national district. He is actually really good at debating. So he's very good at debunking certain topics, and he's also very good at talking about various different topics. So today, I would like to keep it simple, and the reason why we have Rishwan on today is basically because he has just recently judged an international debate competition. So, for those of you who don't know, um, he has actually judged teams from China, from India, and even from Australia, a lot of other different countries. So, he has a lot of insight in these kinds of topics. So we would like to ask his experience on this. But before that, um, that full interview would we'll do it later on in this episode. So let's just get straight into it. Actually, I would like to ask my first question to you, Mr. Rishwan.
Yeah,
So
yeah, go
what?
ahead.
Okay. So what do you think makes a person good in English? Competent in English? Like, what would satisfy you as being good in English?
Okay, I mean, that is very subjective. Like, to a lot of people, good in English can be like an ability to just hold a conversation with someone and making sure that the person you're talking to understands what message you're trying to bring across. But other people, it would mean like talking English fluently without any grammar mistakes and so forth. But I think in general, the main uh, the main thing about any language in particular, if you want to seem competent at it, you need to be able to deliver a message across. I mean, for some people, maybe it's talking in using simple vocabulary. Some people feel they need to use bigger words to express that. But yeah, I feel in general, to be competent is just being able to get a message across. So no matter how you do it, as long as the person you're talking to is able to understand what you're trying to say, it's generally fine.
Yeah, I agree. So basically, for me, I think for someone who has to be considered good in English, because here's just a side note for the viewers. Basically, me and Rishwan are native speakers, and for those of you who don't know what a native speaker is basically someone who has been brought up and their main language while their upbringing was English. So even though like you could be Chinese, your family could be speaking Mandarin, your mother tongue could be Mandarin or Cantonese or Hokkien, or you could be Indian and your mother tongue could be Tamil or Malayalam or Telugu. But basically, you were raised with English and using English. So when you are raised this way, you speak English in a completely different way. So one thing that
Yeah, there
native
is a
speakers,
noticeable difference.
yeah, there is a very, very big difference. So one thing that native speakers, like I think all of us know, is that when you are speaking to another person, you immediately can know if the other person is a native speaker or if he's not, just by the way that someone else is talking.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
for
it's very
me,
true.
yeah, so I used to think, I mean, this is a little bit of a controversial opinion, but I used to think that people who, like when I spoke to another person and that person didn't speak back to me, and like in a native speaker way, I would think that their English isn't good. But then I realized like not everyone is a native speaker. So for you to actually like for me, um, a person who speaks good English is actually a person who like they can convey their message to me and I can fully understand what they mean while also doing it in a very calm, collected, and like chill manner. Like you're not googling up words that you don't understand or like using very complicated words to explain something. Like a casual conversation, if you're able to have a casual conversation with me, I would think that you have good English. Like in your casual conversation, your grammar has to be correct. But the thing is, if you have good English, you won't even notice that your grammar is correct because it just comes naturally to you. Like it's not
Yeah,
something that you
true.
have to,
It's like a
yeah,
flow. But I think the most important thing, like if you're trying to improve yourself in English, is not to try too hard. I mean, it
yeah,
sounds
exactly.
counterintuitive to us in a sense, but it's like don't try to like use words that sound good, but maybe you don't fully understand, and then it can sound
Yeah,
way out of context. I mean, especially
true, true.
as a native speaker, sometimes I come across people trying to talk to me in English, but then I totally don't get what they're trying to say because they try to use a completely different word to what they actually want to tell me. So I think the best thing is just keep it simple and you will improve over time.
Yeah, I think the main point is like you can keep it simple. Like even native speakers, they actually just speak in a very simple manner. But what you're doing has to be accurate. It has to be correct to a certain degree. Like it has to be correct. If you can speak in a simple manner to someone else without making any mistakes, then you are very much considered to have very good English. Do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. But I think it's important also to like let these mistakes happen because if you don't actually try to speak English in a good way, because by making these mistakes, gradually you will improve. Because there will be people correcting you along the way. So yeah.
Yeah, it gets to a point where it just becomes annoying when you have a friend who's like a native speaker in English, and then you're trying to speak to him, but then as you're speaking to him, he's just correcting everything that you're saying, and then you
Yeah.
just
So
feel like you want to
something
punch him in the face, but then no, you have to, yeah. He's just trying to help you, like he's just pointing out what you're doing wrong. So if you can actually fix that, you can speak smoothly or just write smoothly without any mistakes. Like you can realize that there's something that's wrong here without needing to refer to like the laws of grammar or like English punctuation or whatever. You're actually considered a very, very good English speaker. Is that true?
yeah, that is completely true. I agree.
Okay, so basically now, I guess we would like to tell you how you could like strive to achieve this. And I know that we're just talking about talking in English, but there's actually a whole different spectrum to it. So basically, in a way, even though you're speaking in English, and then some people might think, oh, some people they can speak good English, but then they can't write good English. That's actually not the case. Like for English, especially for native speakers in general, if a native speaker can speak good English, he will always be able to write good English because when a native speaker is writing in English, he's actually speaking the sentence in his heart, like in his mind, and he's writing it down at the same time. So if he wrote something wrongly, he would definitely know that he actually wrote something wrongly. There's no way that he's able to overlook that because he would know that it sounds wrong to him.
Yeah, true.
Is
Because
that
I think
true?
most of the time, as a native speaker, when you write, it's sort of like verbalizing your thought process. It's like as if you are talking to someone or like giving a speech. So
Yeah.
it's like you're transcribing whatever you would say to someone, and automatically the grammar and punctuation, it just follows, just
Yes,
like any other
exactly. I
language, really.
agree. So basically, for all of you non-native speakers out there, so you might think that some people are good at talking in English, but then they're not good at writing in English. Some people are really good at writing in English, but then you're not good at talking in English. You see, that's where all of this confusion happens. I believe that English is something that's supposed to be spoken, not written. Because I think, and I think this applies to a lot of languages, but for English in particular, if you can speak good English, it means you have good English. Maybe like in Chinese, because I've learned Chinese since I was young. If you can write good Chinese, doesn't necessarily mean that you can speak good Chinese, good Mandarin. If you can write the Mandarin syllables and all the words properly, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can speak the Mandarin, like pronounce it properly, especially for me because my pronunciation of Mandarin is extremely off. So even though I can write some words, I can't pronounce them right. But for English, it's different. English, you need to learn how to speak. And the moment you get the speaking done, your writing will always be correct. Like while you are writing in English, you're supposed to speak out the sentence in your head, in your heart. You're supposed to know what's wrong with the sentence. At least that's the way how I feel. How about you, Rishwan?
Yeah, it's the same mostly. I think to get that good grammar, first you need to improve, like you should say, your spoken English. I think that's the main idea here. Like when you improve your spoken English, your writing follows. So I think what we'll be generally discussing today is going to revolve around spoken English, but everything that we say can apply to your written English.
Okay, so basically, I think that, I mean, this applies to a lot of people, but mainly some of my friends who are like, they can, especially in online texting, they can chat with me with relatively good English. But when I ask them, like when I tell them that their English is good, they say no lah. Actually, in real life, I cannot talk one. And then I was like, um, see, that's where the problem lies. You shouldn't be like doubting yourself. If you can speak, if you can text to me in a manner that I think, oh, your English is actually quite okay. Like you can actually talk properly. If you can text that, use the same thing, like do the same thing of what you're doing, like when you're texting to me, use the same thing when you're talking to me. So that same thing is basically the point that all of us English speakers are trying to look for. And this applies to a lot of languages, but I think for English, this really does come down to basically how good your understanding is to the point that you know what you have done wrong or what you have said wrong, and you can easily correct yourself without needing other people to help you correct it. Do you agree, Rishan?
Yeah, it's really all about confidence. I mean, when you can text relatively well, it should be about the confidence to translate that into a good spoken English. Like if you are able to express in words something, if you can express your thoughts in words already, you should be able to verbalize it and vice versa. So yeah, I do agree. It really is all about confidence. Just go out there and try to make your spoken English and your written English be at one. And once you gain more confidence in English and the more exposure you get, you will reach a certain stage where you know what you're saying is right and you are less likely to question yourself. And I think that's key here. Like once you stop questioning yourself, you can start to go out more confidently and you don't have to worry about whether people are judging your English, but you can just hold a conversation with people normally.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. So basically, I think it all comes down to this, like, to all of you who want to know how you can improve your English, the most basic thing is that you shouldn't think about texting and speaking. Like, you shouldn't think that both of them are separate. Your texting is directly affecting your speaking. You shouldn't be texting good and speaking trash. You should be speaking good and texting trash, because that's a very, very common theme in people who know how to speak English. They text like garbage. Like, it's actually insane if you
I
look
mean,
at
I
people
do know
who,
some people who like actually have good punctuation, but that's just a minority of people, to be
yeah,
honest.
this is my, not everyone is so good. Not everyone's gonna be like, oh my god, there's this like one thing that I did wrong, and there's this like other thing that I did wrong. Then they're gonna be correcting
Unless you
all
have
of their
one of those
messages.
grammar keyboards.
Yeah. It's basically like, that's never gonna happen. Your English, you have to think of it in the spoken way. So basically, the way I learned English when I was young is that I never touched an English textbook, never went to an English tuition or whatever. You basically just need to watch TV, read some books. I mean, reading books
Yes,
these
that
days,
is
like,
very true. I mean,
yeah,
it may
maybe
be
reading books is
cliche,
like
but
a bit irrelevant, but watching TV, yeah, like dramas, serials, all of these different kinds of activities that you can do. This is actually very, very, like, you might think it's very small, but like, okay, let's just say Friends. You know, Friends has 10 seasons. Okay, the TV show Friends. I watched 10 seasons of Friends, and I spoke a lot better than how I used to speak before, because it basically just normalizes yourself. Like, you feel like you can do it. So the
yeah,
thing
but you
is,
need to be very receptive to it, I feel. I mean, I know people who like they can watch a lot of English shows, but the reality is they don't tend to apply that in real life. So yeah, you have to try and like be like what you see on TV. It really is as simple as that.
exactly, I feel like, yeah, I think that's a very good point actually. It's basically not like you're not supposed to watch TV to learn English. Like, you shouldn't have that mindset. You watch TV to watch TV. The English learning part, it will come naturally. Like, you don't need to worry about that. Your job is to watch TV and watch all of these different videos or like content or whatever you want, dramas, movies, or whatever. But I feel like the more you watch them, the more better your English will get. The main rule here is that you shouldn't be like, when you're sitting down in front of your couch and you're about to start like the first season out of 10 seasons of Friends, you're not supposed to be thinking to yourself that, okay, I'm going to watch this and my English is going to be, like 10 times better once I'm done. No, you shouldn't be thinking of it that way. You should be thinking of it like, I'm going to watch this for the entertainment. Like, you shouldn't be objecting yourself to learning better English. It will come naturally. Trust me. That's how native speakers are born. You think a 2-year-old me would be sitting in front of the TV every day, and then I'll be like, okay, today I'm going to learn English. No, I never in my life have I ever done that. You just sit in front of the TV and you watch it and you try your best to understand it. But the thought of, I'm going to learn English today, should never cross your mind. It will come naturally, trust me. Does it take time? I think, but the more committed you are to watching English TV shows or English dramas, the better your English is going to get. Really, really quickly. I promise you.
Yeah, true. I agree. And I think an alternative to like watching TV would, of course, be surrounding yourself with friends or like people who actually use English as their native language or their main language. Because in a similar way to TV, these are the people you're surrounding with. But the added bonus is that you're also going to converse with them. So, when you're around like-minded people, most most of the time you tend to try to be like them, like try to fit in the sense. So when everyone is around you is speaking good English, not only are you like absorbing that, but you're also going to start speaking in a similar manner to them. So that's another thing. It's similar to how like when you watch English shows, you're watching them and taking in the show, and as a result, subconsciously, and I think that's really key here, like you just said, don't think that you want to speak like that, you want to learn exactly how they talk, but watch it for the entertainment, and subconsciously your brain is going to absorb how they speak, and it will seep into your conversation naturally. It happens.
Yeah, okay, but I think your point is a bit controversial because, okay, here's the actual problem. If you have a good English speaking friend, okay, he's like one of these people in your friend group. The
Okay.
thing about him is he's not going to be speaking the way he normally speaks because he's
Yeah,
going
but
to
I
adapt
mean,
to you people
yeah, but that's
speaking
the
the way.
thing. In a way,
Yeah,
like if you want to improve, you got to surround yourself with English speaking friends. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
an
It shouldn't
alternative.
just be
It's
one
not.
person.
Yeah, because that one person is probably going to feel a bit out of place and will probably try to adapt. I mean, I find myself doing that a lot. I think you
Exactly,
do too, to
exactly.
be honest. Like,
Yeah,
you try
always
to sound more
happens. Yeah.
relatable and less native speaker like.
Yeah, yeah. Like you can't just speak like how you want to speak. You have to adapt to how other people are speaking around you. Like I'm the only native speaker in a group of friends. I have four other friends in my one group. And basically when I speak, I need to sound more like them than how I sound more like myself. So at the start, when I realized this, I was like, no, like this is wrong because I'm deviating from my like the way that I speak.
Yeah, true, but it
So
subconsciously happens because when you're in the minority, you don't want to be the odd one out because people might find you weird or like, what is he saying? I don't get it. So to appeal to your friend group, like, or appeal to that particular social setting, you tend to be like, okay, maybe I should speak more like the people around me so they can understand me better.
yes, exactly. I agree. So basically, if you're trying to learn through basically speaking with other people, I wouldn't recommend that you speak with only one person.
You
I'd
have
say
to
you
have
need
a large
more.
circle.
Yeah, because the native speaker has to feel like he can communicate in the way that he normally does. Like you cannot make him adapt. Because I noticed this thing about native speakers is that that's why, okay, and this is an actual problem. That's why most people who ask their friends to teach them English never learn anything new because their
Ooh,
friend has the
bold
natural
claim.
urge. Yeah, it's a bold claim, but their friend has the natural urge to basically make themselves more relatable to whoever they're teaching.
Yeah, it's like
So
you sort of
they,
subconsciously you try to dumb it down, try to make it easier to
yeah, and
understand.
you don't know that you're doing that. Which is the weirdest thing. Like maybe your friend would learn like new words or anything, but they're not gonna learn the proper way to speak English like without errors. If you learn new words in English, it's really not that good. I'm gonna be
Yeah,
honest
because
with you.
if we were to just teach people English, the rules like that, it's just going to become like a science eventually. Like, oh, just
Yeah,
memorize grammar rules, and it just defeats the whole point of learning English in general. Because ultimately, the goal is to be able to speak well. So it shouldn't be
exactly.
like that.
Yes. So it shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't be learning new words or trying to use fancy words. You should be speaking correctly. Like you should be focusing on that more. And especially with your native speaker friends, I notice this a lot. A lot of native speakers are like that. If they're talking to a group of people who aren't native speakers, they bring themselves, like they just suit themselves to fit in with the way that other people are talking.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
know, let's say,
I know
yeah,
one or two. Again, I know one or two people who don't change the way they speak, but again, that's still a
yeah, and
relatively
that's
minority.
annoying.
They're still
You see, that's
a small
annoying.
number.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
I,
know. Like sometimes if like you're a non-native speaker and you hear someone like talking in like really fluent English, you might think they're what showing off in a way. I mean,
yeah,
I've gotten
exactly.
that sometimes. I've heard that about other people too.
Like especially accents. Okay, I'm just gonna say this right here, right now. If you're speaking with an accent, just shut up. Okay, you don't need to use an accent when you're speaking. For God's sake. Okay, it is the most disgusting thing you will ever hear in your life when someone is trying to put on an accent and speak to you. Never,
Yeah,
never do
never
that.
put it on. I mean, if you want to speak in an accent, you sort of learn the accent. Like, you know how people, like, when they go study abroad, like maybe someone goes to the UK and then they come back with a British accent. I mean, if someone's putting on an accent, you can tell because there will still be traces of your actual original accent. It will still be there, and then
Exactly,
that
exactly.
just sounds really off.
Accents are like English. They come naturally without even you wanting to learn. Like you don't need to tell yourself like I'm going to learn how to do a British accent today because
No,
the
I've
more
seen
time you
many
spend,
impressions.
yeah, I know, but
I
it's like
practically
the
lived
more
next to one.
okay, no name callings here. It's everyone's anonymous.
You know
Okay,
who you
so it's
are.
basically okay, wink, wink. Okay, so it's basically like if you don't need to bring yourself to learn the new accent. The more time you spend, especially like it's the same thing with English. The more time you spend in it, the more better you're gonna get. There's no very fast way, like there's no way to like check your grammar if it's correct or like that, because it gets to a point where you don't even care about grammar anymore. It's just like, does this sound right, you know? I feel like
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
true.
way.
Cause,
Yeah,
'cause when you hear something it's not correct, and like that doesn't sound right, or that doesn't sound like something I would say, and then that's what you should be striving to achieve.
yeah, it's all about sound. So basically, how, okay, so we've told you how you like how are the ways that you're supposed to improve your English, and it's basically just doing your everyday things, your generic things, watching TV, watching a drama, watching a movie, speaking with a group of friends. You can do all of this, right? But your intention should never be to learn English. You should just do it for the sake of doing it. Like you like the Avengers, so you watch the Avengers. You don't watch the Avengers, and then you go like, oh, I'm just gonna learn English by watching the Avengers. That's not the way it works. You should never have that intention. You should just watch it for the sake of entertainment. Okay, so that's basically the main rule. Okay, it comes naturally. And here's the thing, how do you know if you've actually achieved that level? Like you've achieved the point that, oh, okay, so it's like I'm actually good at English. The way you know that is that at one point you don't even think about grammar anymore. That word just becomes non-existent. It's basically the sound. It's basically when you're writing a sentence and you read it out to yourself, if it sounds wrong, like you feel like it sounds wrong, that means you are officially a good English speaker, because you can detect the mistake without needing to refer to all these grammatical rules. Okay, let's just say an elephant. Okay, and I know because my grammar isn't even good. I don't know a lot of different laws of grammars, but like I know that if your word, the first alphabet of your word is a vowel, so elephant is a e. So the word that comes before that is an, not a. You don't say a elephant, you say an elephant. So the thing is, for me, it comes naturally. So I say that elephant, okay, there is an elephant and it is big. So if that sentence, if I read that sentence out to myself, I would feel like there is a elephant. But the moment I hear
Yeah,
the
but then
a
it sounds
elephant,
wrong.
yeah, it sounds wrong. It's like something is wrong there. So the moment you start feeling that way and you stop thinking like, oh wait, no, it shouldn't be it should be an, because the e is a vowel. No, you shouldn't be thinking that way. You see, if you're thinking of it that way, you're still doing it wrong. It should come naturally to you. It should sound wrong. It
Yeah,
shouldn't
yeah, yeah,
be
true.
grammatically wrong.
And I think like there's nothing wrong with learning these grammar rules. Like yeah, you can learn that okay, if it starts with A, E, I, O, U, you use and so forth. But it will get to a point where you start forgetting that you actually knew these rules in the first place because
Yeah, like for
the
me,
way
I've
you
completely
speak.
forgotten most of them. Like seriously, like
Yeah, I
even
know. It's
last
like
year.
sometimes when somebody comes and asks you about a certain grammar rule, and because you're a
Yeah,
native
but then
speaker, they
you don't
expect you to
know.
know
You
it,
just think,
but you just
yeah.
correct them without actually referring to anything. And then when they ask, I have some friends who actually like they ask me to explain why did you say that. I find it hard sometimes to do that. I mean, Kishore, did you experience that too as well?
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's basically when people are asking you to explain, oh, why did you change this or why did you change that? It's like because it sounds wrong. It just sounds wrong. I can't tell you the specifics. I don't know,
But
because
of course, it's
that's
not
when you
like
know
we don't
your
make
English is
mistakes,
good.
but it's
Yeah, and they'll be like, oh, you're
minimized to that
bluffing or
point.
you're just trying to show off and stuff like that. But really, we're
Yeah, I've
not. We
gotten that a
really
lot.
don't know. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
an
we don't know.
actual
Like we just
problem.
like this is what we think sounds right, and it so happens to be correct. But that's just a consequence of us being native speakers, or also it's a testament to the fact that if we're not a native speaker, to how much we've improved.
Yes, so that's the main point here. If you want to improve in your English, you do all of your daily things, but without the intention of learning English. But you need to watch and learn English without the intention of learning English. I know it sounds
Yeah,
weird, but it is true. And how do you know that you've gotten to that point that your English is actually good? The main thing, like the main point that stands out of all of them, is that you're able to detect these mistakes without referring to grammatical errors or how the sentence structure or whatever. Okay, it never refers back to that. If you can successfully do that, you're actually really good to go. Do you agree?
yeah, that's really all you need to do. Just improve your English. It happens naturally, and don't think about the learning. The learning will happen. I mean, that's how we are. That's how we roll, really, basically. Like your mind, you're gonna automatically start picking up the right way of speaking English the more you expose yourself to it.
Exactly, which is why I think the school's way of teaching is actually wrong. I know this
Or
is
don't.
really controversial. It's a
Yeah,
big,
but to be
big.
honest, I mean, you can say it's controversial, but this is an opinion that a lot of people generally share, unless
Exactly,
you don't really
exactly.
care about the education system, in which I really don't know what to say about that.
I don't know what to say. So, I mean, but we're not going to be talking about the educational system
Yeah, that's
now.
not today's
Yeah,
focus. I mean,
that's
we
not
could save
today's
that for
focus.
another episode, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. But
Stay tuned.
yeah, so this is
There will be
basically,
more episodes.
yeah, there will be. Yeah, just stay tuned. You guys can tell us whatever topics you want to listen from us if we have a good opinion, because we do not want to talk about things that we don't know. We want to talk about things that we actually know, so we don't
Yeah, so
sound
like
so
if you
dumb.
have questions, feel free to like let us know,
Yeah, just
and we
let us
can
know.
address them in like future episodes.
Yeah. So okay, so I guess that kind of wraps it up for how you're supposed to speak proper English. How do you improve in your English? Okay, so now let's get on to the part about. So this is basically story time with Rishwan.
Ah,
So,
right,
so
right,
what?
right.
So tell us about your debate, your international debate competition. Just like give us a rundown of what happened and how it played out and stuff like
Right, right, right. So for those of you who don't know, I recently participated as a judge in the Australasian InterVarsity Debating Championships. I mean, due to COVID, it was held online. So that was a really new experience for me. But also, I mean, I've been a debater for 3 years now, but this has been my first experience attending a tournament as a judge. And let's just say it was really eye-opening for like a number of reasons. It's safe to say as a judge, you get to see new perspectives about how people talk. And as Kishore mentioned, yeah, it's an international tournament. I judge teams from like China, India, Australia, Indonesia, the Philippines, and yeah, lots of other countries. And it was really eye-opening to see, because not only you are judging some native speakers, but there are also a lot of competitive debaters who are also really good, but they are not classified as native speakers. Because like in debate tournaments, you have this classification of whether you speak English as a second language or whether you're a native speaker. And for some teams, there is a whole separate break for that. So like at the end of preliminary rounds, these teams are separated. So as judges, you will be told like which speakers are native speakers and some are, and which speakers are not. But
A lot of surprisingly, there are a lot of speakers out there who say they're not native speakers, but they can sound as good, if not better, than some of the native speakers I've seen. So yeah, even though like as judges, you are told whether someone's a native speaker or not. I've been genuinely surprised by quite a number of people who say they are not native speakers, but they sound really good, or maybe even better than some of the native speakers I judged. So I think it's something to think about. Like, just because English was not your first language growing up does not mean you can improve to the point where people would assume that English is your first language. That level of proficiency is attainable, trust me.
Yeah, I agree. So basically, it's like, so what you're saying is that even though those people weren't native speakers, the way that they speak, basically, for you, it felt like they were native speakers, and that's kind of unheard of, because for native speakers, when they listen to someone else speaking, they know if you're a native speaker or not. So this really does like comes to show, if you do it right, like if you follow the way native speakers learn, you yourself can become a native speaker. And that's how the greatest speakers in the world, like English in general, if you just want to use it, it has to be good. But then it has to be good in a native speaker way. It shouldn't just be you have good English. You should speak good English in a native speaker way. And I feel like that's the proper way to speak English, to be honest.
Yeah, but
How
again,
about you?
don't try too hard. That's
Yeah,
really
again, never try. Okay, you should never try to speak like a native speaker. You should just like it shouldn't even cross your mind. You know, it all happens subconsciously. Like you don't need to think about being a good English speaker or speaking good English. Like right now, I'm not thinking about, oh, am I going to say a word wrong or stuff like that, because I know that I won't say a word wrong
yeah, true,
because
but
I know.
okay, but even
Yeah,
if like let's say you're not that sure that your English is great, just don't be afraid to make the mistake. Just be confident, be yourself, and just have
yeah.
courage to talk.
People will. Yeah. So
That's how
in the
people
debate
speak.
competition, like, do these things happen?
Yeah, it's true.
Like,
I mean, I've been fortunate enough to have debating for like quite a while now, and I have seen people like not only within my own team, but also from other schools and people I've met. Like maybe they may not have great English at first, but over time, because they're brave enough to step up and try to improve and just try to speak in English more, they automatically become better. It's a very noticeable difference.
exactly, I agree. So, okay, how about the rounds? Like, which contestants basically surprised you the most?
Interesting question. There were quite a few. I mean, there was this team from Indonesia who I thought were really excellent. They went up against Australian team and they really did hold their own. So, but I think the main takeaway I got from that like whole round, not in terms of debating, but like as someone who's just watching this debate to see how people speak, I think the most important thing I saw was that they went into it without any fear. They felt like, okay, I can engage with these people and try to talk with them in a way that sounds convincing enough. It's just
Yes,
you need to have
exactly.
that
Yeah.
bravery. Don't be afraid that you're speaking to someone who like maybe has better English with you. I mean, you might surprise a few people.
Were there those kind of people over there, like they're just not confident in the way that they speak English. Like when someone else speaks to them, then they just like they're so stressed. They're like, oh my god, his English is so good. So if I don't speak good English, habis lah like that. Were they like
Yeah,
that?
I've come across these people as well. But really, if
So
you're
what's your advice to them? Like, what do you think they should
don't be
do?
afraid to make the mistake. I mean, I know it sounds difficult at first, but like, what isn't really difficult, to be honest? I mean, learning English is going to be a long, hard journey for some. I mean, as native speakers, it's a process. Like, when we were 5 years old, we wouldn't be as good as English as we are now. It's a constant process. Even native speakers have things to learn. Like, we pick up stuff along the way. It's human nature. So, it's just the only difference that
Exactly.
you're starting your process a little bit later. So yeah, just try your best. Just don't be afraid. That's the only
Okay,
thing I can
but
say.
the best part about all of this, I think you will also agree with me, is the fact that we native speakers, we had to learn English since we were young.
Yeah,
So
that's
it
a
was
big
like,
advantage.
Yeah, but that's actually like if you think about it really, right? That's not actually an advantage because when we were
Why not?
young, our thought process, like we still weren't mature enough to understand learning, our learning capabilities weren't that good.
I mean,
But
true,
for
but like
people, yeah,
in a way, you were exposed to it since you were young, so that's one of the first things you
yeah,
absorb.
that's one of the first things, exactly. But in terms of who could learn it faster, I believe that I've never seen this personally myself, but I believe like people at our age, like teenagers, especially people who are like basically matured, I believe like they are the ones who can actually learn really quickly instead of taking years like us native speakers. Like I wasn't a proper native speaker until I was Form 1, 13 years old. It's like it took me 13 years to get to the point that I am now. And from 13 years old to 18 years old, there's literally nothing has changed. It's been the same thing all over. So I believe like if you follow these rules, I believe like you could actually do this in a very short amount of time. Like it wouldn't take you as long. Do you believe that, or how is it?
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree with what you said, to be honest with you.
Yeah, true. Okay. So I hope this kind of just sums it up for all of you. For the native speakers who are listening, I hope that you could actually be nice because here's a real world problem.
Oh,
Native
yes.
speakers think that they're so good, that they'll show off to other people that, oh, my English is so good. But actually, you shouldn't be doing that.
I
You
mean,
should be
just think
helping
of
other
it as like
people.
if you try to learn a foreign language, like maybe you try to learn French or something like that, and when you actually speak to native French speakers, you wouldn't
Yeah,
want
they'll
them
be
to be
laughing at
looking down on
you.
you.
Exactly, they'll be laughing at you. It's such a normal thing. Okay, it's just you shouldn't be laughing at people just because their incapabilities of doing it. I mean, yes, sometimes it can be very funny, and if they can take it as a joke as well, yes, do laugh if
But
they're
not
like your close
everybody is
friend.
like as
Yes, but not everybody is like that because some people you would definitely hurt their integrity, you'll definitely hurt their feelings, like because you are discouraging them from learning English, where like basically you are creating this sort of space where you're not giving someone a chance to actually learn. And I know this because this has happened before to a lot of my friends, and it's kind of sad because these people, especially like any mature person, can easily learn English. It's such a common language, it's so easy to learn,
English is
to
everywhere
speak in a
and
native.
you need to
Yes,
learn it.
exactly. You need to learn it. If it's a universal communication method, it's a must. It would get you a lot of places. Like even I met this. I used to be a moderator for my school when I was in high school, and we had this millionaire. He was an alumni for our school, and basically, when I was interviewing him, he said that you can get anywhere if you have good English, and I agreed with him because when I spoke to him, I thought he was a native speaker, but in fact, he actually wasn't. So I guess he actually learned, like he actually achieved that level. And I believe that if you guys can do that too, you'll be fine. Seriously. It's not that hard, to be honest. It really isn't that hard.
It's really all about initiative. Just have the confidence to go out and try. Mistakes will happen along the way, but eventually you'll reach the level you want to be at, and that's great.
Exactly. So for the native speakers out there, for God's sake, okay, if your friend is trying to learn how to become a native speaker, to become a
Don't put
good
them
English
off.
speaker, yes, please, just don't. Okay. So I guess thank you all so much for listening to this podcast. I guess we'll wrap it off right here. Are there any more final remarks from you, Rishwan?
Not really. I think we've really covered the base of it.
Yeah, we really covered. This is
Yeah.
basically like
I
the
mean,
one and
there's a
only
lot we could
guide
talk
you
about, but
need.
this is just like the main points that you need to know if you want to learn English. It's just like our
Exactly.
tips, what we think.
Yeah. And yeah, like You could have a differing opinion. You could trust us or not.
But that's okay.
It's
It's
fine.
entirely up.
That's okay. Yeah, it's fine. It's entirely up to you. But if you do believe us, I promise you, this is basically the way stuff goes. It's really not that complicated. You don't
And you
need
will
to.
see improvements.
Yeah, you will. You will. Trust me. Like at first you won't, but if you're mature enough, you will. And slowly but surely, you definitely will become an incredibly good speaker. I promise you. Like this is a guarantee for sure.
I mean,
There's
it
no
worked
way
for
that you
us
won't. Yeah, it worked for us, so it should work for you. It
because native
definitely
speakers
would.
had to learn somewhere. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. No one is born a baby who can actually speak English. It's
If there was, I'd
impossible.
like to meet that baby.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hope this really helped a lot of you. I know that a lot of you actually do want to know how to improve your English, and I always see people doing it wrongly. So this is a very comprehensive guide, and yeah, um, I guess we'll wrap it off over here. So hopefully you all enjoyed. If there's anything that you would like to know, you could just PM us. For our next episode, if you have any, we'll have a guest for our next episode, and any topic actually. It doesn't have to be a very serious topic. It could be
It doesn't even
miscellaneous,
have
could
to
be
be about
anything.
like learning English. This is just a
Yeah,
miscellaneous podcast. We
it
can
shouldn't
talk about
be.
anything we
Yeah,
find interesting.
Ton del Titno stands for not entitled, which means it can be anything.
Yeah, we
Anything.
literally could not come up with a title because like there's so many things we can touch
There's
on.
so many things that you can talk about. Exactly. So if you have any suggestions, do tell us. We'll have a guest on our next episode.
Or even
And
just like it doesn't have to be a topic, but anything you just want to know about us or anything you want to ask us, like our opinion, feel free to let
yeah,
us know.
feel free to let us know. We'll always respond. So thank you all so much for listening. This has been Kishore Ramesh and Rishwan Praveen, our guest judge, for joining us today. So thank you so much and goodbye.